watch the efforts of our species dance away on the radioactive wind. Civilization retreated by millennia. All of human history brought to dust. Our cities, now scorched black mausoleums, serve as a reminder. There can be no victory at war. Earth is the answer to the question of our mortality. With resolute defiance, we choose to grasp at the delicate thread of life. My son, the gift of survival is yours. Please, may you never submit. There will be more.
Musasilo, we need Musasilo with Karaman. The more in the attack, the better chance for us to get a goal. Again, one goal will probably win this game. We need to score a goal in the first half, get it out of them, smell the blood, and go after it and kill them off. I feel confident, surprisingly, that we're going to get a win. So I'm going to say we break out in a big way. We win 3-0 against Regensburg at home, and everyone saves their job. Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Schalke America, Blau und Weiß, ein Leben lang. Happy Victory Monday. I'm your host, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always, Jack Maggot. How are we doing, Jack?
Doing well. I think it's the first Victory Monday since the brief Jakob Frimpel era, if I remember correctly. So nice to be back with you. Feels like it was a little bit of a hiatus for me. Just some scheduling issues led me to miss a couple matches with the the lack of availability on ESPN Plus, but back in the saddle and a win to discuss. So happy to be here.
Yeah. Happy to be here. I'm also happy. I got a drink tonight. Actually moved around my liquor cabinet. I was like, you know what? Let's get some drinks going. So it's a good night to drink. I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, it's been a while. You missed our Schalke America derby there. I'm not going to go into how that ended, but yeah, it's been a mess. You've been missed, Jack. You've been missed. We've got a lot we've gone through here, but yeah, good to have you back. Lot to get into tonight. We're going to get into, first off, obviously we're going to talk about the Victory Monday. The blue out to everyone in the chat. Saw every one of you there. You got Waflo, Anthony, William, and I think Erica's on there as well. Let us know in the chat where you're watching from. And yes, anyway, back to the rundown. We're going to watch the recap of the game, do our 4 takeaways, go a little bit more in depth than that. See if Jack has the same 4 takeaways as me. Talk about the final thoughts. Talk about some news and bits that happened throughout, and even talk a little Schalke Frauen, just a little update on them and how they did and how they've been doing. I haven't talked about them since the Women's River Derby, but let's kick things off, Jack. Before we get to the game, there was a prospect. There were rumors going around that a striker Schalke was trying to get that got a lot of people excited at the potential of having it. Obviously, we're going to wait and see, but Anthony Modesta, really good goal scorer for many years, linked with Schalke, former Dortmund player, former Cologne player. Rumor was that we were going to get him, but unfortunately, I don't really know how I feel about that. But he came out publicly and said, hey, I appreciate the offer from Schalke. I'm not interested. I'm a former Cologne player, former Dortmund player. I don't want to mess up how my legacy is with them, so I'm going to pass on this one, Jack. Thoughts on that?
It seemed to kind of materialize and then disappear very rapidly. So it was kind of a strange, brief life cycle for that rumor. I don't know. I'm not gonna necessarily turn down help if I think there's help there, but I'm very skeptical about what help he would be at this point in his career. What is he, 35 at this point or something like that? Maybe,
36, yeah.
Okay, 36. It feels like we're trying to dip into that Torado well a little bit, by who's a legend of the Bundesliga at that position that we can kind of pull in. Look, obviously had a few really good seasons with Cologne. I think 2 pretty solid seasons where he had at least 15 goals around 2015 or a little bit after there, and then had a second stint where he had a really good season more recently, which is what kind of got him the move to Dortmund later, kind of on the heels of that. But I think since that point, the Dortmund move I don't really think worked out well, if I remember correctly, and then has been kind of in lower level leagues, no disrespect to the Egyptian league or something like that, but not Europe's top 5 leagues. So I don't know. Not particularly upset about it. Hasn't he had some weird, almost disciplinary issues too at times or something? Or is he kind of a difficult character? I don't know if that's what you want to inject into the locker room situation right now, given that we're already struggling. I can't imagine he would want to come to a situation like ours in the first place. So, I was never too invested in the rumor, and it seems like it's definitely not happening now. So, yeah.
I was never really invested as well. I just heard the name and was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't really think striker is a position that we needed to fix. I think we've seen all season that we were one of the better attacking teams before Van Wonderen. So I wasn't really looking for an attacker. I thought Silla and Karaman, really are linked up well this year. I think defensively is where we're struggling. If we could find a defender maybe of that caliber that Modesta is, but in defense, sure, okay, I'll entertain that. But that's where our problems are. It's not in the attack. It's despite not having goals the last couple of games, it's not the attack. It's the defense and then the system that's being played or not being played. So I'm not too worried, I'm not too bothered by that. But it did not stop the team from going out there and getting a result in this one. Obviously, 2-0 against Regensburg. Excellent result there. Looking at the lineups in this one, for me, when I look at Regensburg, they got a new manager bump. We always talk about the new manager bump. We don't have them in new manager bump. We haven't had that with Van Wonderen yet. Every other team we play, they get new manager. They always get the new manager bump. And Andreas Platz, they got the new manager bump. They had 2 wins in a row, one in the Pokal and one in the league play, and so they had that bump. So they had been playing a little bit better as of late. But 2 guys in particular that, say what you will about Regensburg, they've only had 5 goals for this season. A couple of guys that I was worried about were the attacker Hotman, as well as Kai Proger, former Schalke guy. Those 2 guys, as bad as Regensburg's looked this year, I thought they were the guys more likely to score just because they're the ones who've been on the score sheet for Regensburg this year. But outside of that, I really wasn't really bothered by anybody else from Regensburg. I mean, how about you?
No, I mean, like, this is what I would say going into this one is obviously the start to Wunderen's, time at Schalke hasn't been great, and it seems as though we're almost always already in crisis mode before coming into this game, where there's talk, in the week beforehand about, whether or not we need to let him go and kind of cut things loose early, which would just be incredible. But I think if there was going to be a get-right game early in his tenure, it would have been this one with Regensburg being at the bottom of the table. It's a game that we come into kind of expecting probably to have a lot of possession. And we were able to do that and execute, keep a clean sheet on the back of it, avoid getting killed on the counter. Don't really feel like we allowed too many, big chances either. So, I'm pleased with the result. And the one question I wanted to ask you about the lineup for the most part is just like, how do you feel about? And I know it didn't really present itself this way the entire time in terms of kind of the shape that you have on the screen at the moment. But I mean, like, how do you feel about like Younes and like that more central advance role? I mean, I've been really actually pleased with him. I think overall since he's arrived, I wasn't sure what he was going to give us coming into the season, and I thought like in this game it was another good example of like when he's on the ball and he's linking up with his teammates. Yeah. There was like a zip to some of his passing and how crisp it is, and the way he sets it up. That is just visually a different class. Like you can see like the pedigree that's there.
Yes. Yeah. No. I mean, this particular lineup, Kaminsky in defense, is not my cup of tea. But I mean, to your point, it was like more like a 4-4-2, probably a diamond with Younes in the lead of that midfield. I like it there because I think we know the skill set that he brought to the table when Schalke signed him, and Karaman and Silla have been linking up well, and so they need that playmaker in the team to kind of facilitate the ball to them. And we don't really have anybody outside. I mean, Seguin played a little bit of that early in the season before Younes got his feet wet, and Seguin was doing it really nice, but then he got injured, and then there was a void, and we had to figure it out. Obviously, Younes got healthy, and he slipped into there really perfectly, I thought. As much as we've seen Seguin and Antwi Adier provide some offensive spark here and there, Younes has been the most consistent in terms of, one, he's got the skill set. We know he's got the skill set. At times, he wants to have the ball too much, but he can do passes and do moves and things that none of the other players can do. And so having that option there to facilitate some of the attacking options is really great, I think. Well, so I've been pleased with that.
I noticed he was over on the sideline a lot as well, talking to Wunderen during stoppages in play pretty consistently, which seems to suggest once again that he's kind of looked at as a leader or somebody that yep. The manager can communicate his tactical ideas to get that across on the pitch. So I think that's a positive sign too, not just that he's playing well, but that he's able to kind of have that leadership role. Because once again, he was a guy that coming into, I think there were some similar kind of like disciplinary concerns, or kind of like, he's had some fallings out. He's been a difficult character at clubs. It's just the right kind of guy to come into our season. And he's really surprised me so far. So I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was curious to see what they were going to do in defense. We knew Kalash was injured based on the press conference the day before. What were they going to do in defense? The defense hadn't been that great. Yeah, we haven't given up that many goals, or no goals, really, last game. But what will we do? I thought about maybe, do we put Bullet and Schallenberg in there or what? But Kaminsky they brought back. When I heard that, I was cringing, at first. He ultimately did well. But Merkin, Kaminsky, Schallenberg, and Bullet, I think Schallenberg and Kaminsky actually did fairly well in this game, so I was pleasantly surprised by that. I thought in the midfield you had to keep Seguin and Gruger because they had been playing really well. I think since Gruger's been getting the starts, he and Seguin have been linking up very well. I'm glad to see Bachmann's not been getting the start because I think Seguin's done everything to keep that position. And then, obviously Moore and Silla and Karaman up top, they're almost staples at this point. And obviously Toby Moore, we'll talk a little bit more in this game. But overall, good lineup.
Yeah, I mean, look, once again, Regensburg have scored, I think, the only team with single-digit goals at this point.
Yeah, we have 14 more goals coming into this game.
So, I mean, if there was a game, once again, to have a center-back pairing of Kaminsky and Schallenberg, this might have been one of them as well.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't want to be, overly effusive with any of the praise we give Schalke. This is a team that I think is definitively being relegated. I know mathematically it's not there, but, their underlying performance of Regensburg has been very bad this season. So this was a game that we should have won and needed to win fairly convincingly. And so, yeah, I was pleased that we were able to do that.
Yeah. Kuroro's comment says, don't forget Toby Moore, 2 assists. Yeah, we'll get to Toby Moore. Seguin was good too, and even Kaminsky was okay, but our next opponent is Hamburg, and we will see if we improved. That Absolutely. Is a very good point. Luckily, we have the international breaks. We got a couple more weeks or another 13 days or whatever, 10 days for Van Wonderen to kind of work his guys before that encounter. But yes, excellent point there. Interesting game for sure. I think I'll start off with saying this. I think Justin Heckren, not only last game, but this game in particular, the command he had in the box when the ball was there, the confidence, the crowd receptive to it. You heard him roar every time he made those plays. He took control of that box. I think that goalkeeper competition is done with. I mean, we knew it obviously last week he got the start, and Van Wonderen said so, but he looked confident. He looked excellent in this game. Very pleased by the way he from beginning to end, he was excellent, I thought.
Yeah, and you don't want to get too caught up in the body language and stuff as opposed to the underlying performance, whatever. But body language is so important. I feel with keepers in particular, and especially when it's younger guys and there's a rotation going on, and we're looking for stability back there. All we're really looking for, as we've said many times, is we don't need you to make insane saves. If the defense messes up, it's fine. You just need to make the saves you're supposed to make. You need to be commanding in the air. You need to give people direction. And watching him in that game, you feel like he is not somebody you're worried about. Yep. As a fan, he's instilling confidence in me through the way he's kind of carrying himself on the pitch. So obviously the performances have to match, but I think it was probably the right decision to swap him back in after the brief, Thorman stint. And pleased with Heckren today. Yeah.
There's a comment in Discord. There's a couple questions from Discord I want to get to tonight before we get all said and done. But yeah, the question is, we haven't really had a fluid or a decisive attacking or a plan. It seems like we're playing almost park the bus defensively, and you can't really do that against Regensburg, who has only 5 goals for. You had to come out and do something. If we finally got to see that in this game, some of the notes that I have in this one early on, Toby Moore. We used to talk about Toby Moore, had a really great chance. I called him the one-footed bastard at that point because great shot opportunity with his right foot. He didn't take it. He went for his left-hand side, and they lost the ball at that point. But good to see him get into the action there. Musa Silla, great to see him back because he made the through pass. I mean, it was a really great pass, and we saw a lot of great through passes in this game, but that was the first one there. Musa Silla find Toby Moore, and Toby Moore, typically he's on the left-hand side on that sideline, but he found his way in the middle somehow. Silla found him, and he got that little opportunity there. But a sign of things to come there. It seemed like we had nonstop pressure that first 10 minutes. I don't know if you felt the same way. Nothing in terms of shots on target, but it felt like we just had majority possession. I mean, is that what you're feeling early on in the game?
No, yeah, I would agree, and obviously that was the case for a lot of it. Was having the lion's share possession, trying to manage them on the counter, and trying to get something with that possession too, and not just be kind of impotently sitting around. So that was good to see.
Yeah, I did notice throughout the game it was very much a 4-3-3 formation, both off it with the ball and without the ball. It seemed like defensively we're using a lot of ball side pressure, which kind of forced them to make a lot of turnovers, which is good. I guess good planning, good reading by Van Wonderen going into the game. But it seemed I was surprised to see it was so rigid, both forward and backwards in a 4-3-3. So and those things, formations you throw them out the window most of the time. But a lot of times you see is like a lot of teams, at least the modern teams, they'll change all kinds of different formations depending on what situation it is. And Schalke seemed to be in a 4-3-3 throughout. At least that's what I saw. I don't know if you saw anything different in the game and how it was shaping up.
I mean, 4-4-2 against the ball sometimes, but yeah. I mean, this is why I wish some more of the games were on ESPN Plus. So I have time to actually watch them back and take a closer look at that stuff.
It's all user memory.
Yeah, at 6:30 in the morning my time, whenever you know what I mean. So it's that kind of stuff. But anyway, I think. once again, I've missed the last couple, which I know have not been the prettiest performances, but the couple games that I've had a chance to see under Vunder, I feel like regardless of how well we play overall, I feel like there's at least some defined shapes. It looks like we know kind of where we're supposed to be for the most part, and what we're supposed to be doing. Whether or not we're executing that particularly well is another question. But so yeah, I would agree. I think the way we did handle some of those moments when we were off the ball was still pretty positive.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I think that was evident in not the last game, but maybe one of the Pokal game against Augsburg, the game before that. But knowing the roles, knowing what their position is, and what each of the players are supposed to be doing in the plan, it didn't seem like it was there previously. A couple weeks ago, it seemed like Kalash and Bullet didn't know who had to do what and what position in certain positions when the opposition was attacking, and you saw two clear-cut goals where both Bullet and Kalash kept looking at each other like, it was like, you or is that me? Like the confusion was there. We didn't have that in this game. I thought the defense was really in sync throughout in this one. Pleasantly surprised by Schallenberg and Kaminsky back there, communicating very well. Merkin played well defensively. Bullet obviously played well defensively. So it's really a big. They have been organized as you said. But I think this is the best game they played defensively. Obviously, it's Regensburg, right? But hey, you got to start somewhere, as Van Wonderen said. They did. Regensburg had a great chance in the 13th minute. I think it was Knaus or somebody took a shot, went wide. And I was like, oh, damn, it's not going to be one of those games where we have all the possession and they go and score a goal. As soon as I thought that we had a goal from Keenan Karaman, really great play between, I think it was Seguin, Moore, and the Karaman ultimately got the goal there. Really great work on the left-hand side. You saw the left-hand side would really being a theme, at least throughout the game, different portions. But the cross in from Toby Moore, I thought Silla should have had that. And all of a sudden, Karaman shut me up when he stopped it. Great first touch to kind of set his shot up and then off the post and in. Thoughts on that first goal there?
Like I said, Karaman is the king of like getting himself into a position where it doesn't look like he has something, and then somehow actually pulling off like a nice move to get himself a yard of space and a surprisingly good finish. Like he's done that repeatedly, whether it's some of the shots from the edge of the box or in this situation, kind of like the shimmy shake turn that he kind of puts on the guy was really nice. So yeah, I mean him once again being able to come up with some of these goals is huge for us. Still is a great signing. Nice to have him. Whatever, but like he's not gonna be able to do it himself the entire year. And so moments like that are huge. And for us once again to go ahead and get the lead early on a team we're supposed to be beating, given how things have been going, good confidence boost, have a lot of possession. Should be putting the squad in a good position. Yeah,
absolutely. And you'd think sometimes when we score goals, we kind of take our foot off the gas, and we didn't see that. At least Talon Bullet didn't. Shortly after the goal, you saw a good hustle play where he forced a corner kick. His hustles, that's why Schalke fans have endeared to him so quickly. He and Gruger, I thought both these guys showed a lot of gumption in this game. They went after plays, played well defensively, played well offensively, took their chances when they had it, both shots and passes. They're both all over the pitch today, and in the 20th minute was a great example of that. First 30 minutes, even really first 45, we had the chances, I thought. One thing of note for me, not only in the first 45, but in the game in general, was that the front four, and when I say front four, I mean Silla, Karaman, Moore, and Yunus. Those four, they seem to be linking up so well together. And to your point earlier about Yunus kind of being like the quarterback of that, kind of setting everybody up. But the link-up combination passing between the four of them was really good to see. We saw glimpses of that this year, but I think this is like the culmination here. We haven't seen it in, obviously, many weeks. So good to see that the back and forth play. Do you attribute that to Yunus just being, such a skilled player, or just the chemistry of them pretty much playing all together this year?
Yeah, I think the chemistry is getting there. There's some good off the ball movement, which is part of it too, when people are making complimentary runs and there's dummies and there's all kinds of stuff happening. It's nice when there's a little bit more freedom and things get that kind of fluid. But yeah, I'm not trying to say that like Yunus had like a better game than like Seguin or something like that. Like Seguin had a very nice game, back. I know I got some nice comments from the coach as well. I think like I said, there's certain moments where he'll do something, and it's either like the speed with which he sees something, makes a decision, and like gets the ball there, which like helps the the play progress in a way it wouldn't because there's more windows open when like the next player receives the pass. It's those kind of things. But there's moments where he'll do something like that, and it just feels like you're witnessing a player who should be playing at a higher level to some extent. I'm not saying he's there like physically in terms or whatever else in this point in his career. I'm just saying in terms of like, you know, the vision, the recognition, and some of his ability to, you know, with these ground passes and whatnot. Yeah, I just think I think it's a different class sometimes compared to a lot of what we have on the rest of the team, and it's useful to have that in there. And the other thing I've said before too is I think like his work rate has been better than I expected it to be coming into season 2. So it's not just that he's like kind of like walking around slowly and playing these balls, like he's actually hustling and stuff. You know what I mean? So like I think he's been a great addition.
I think it's funny too because like Eunice has been like, he's not only one of those guys who sees that has great vision, but he'll take chances. He'll, you know, there are plays where a majority of the players on Schalke will not attempt to make those through passes or certain passes. Eunice is like, I don't care, I'm gonna go for it. And if he gets it, he looks brilliant. If he doesn't, he thinks so well. He goes and he hustles trying to get the ball back, which you love to see because sometimes those, you know, highly skilled players who do that, give up the ball, they don't hustle, get the ball back. And you see Eunice so far, at least, has been doing that, which has been nice to see. And I think that's why so many people have liked him and wanted to see him more in the starting lineup because that hustle, right? Yeah, you know, what Schalke fans, what you do is this hustle, play hard the whole time. And if, yeah, you can make the nice, pretty passes, but if you mess up, try to make up for it. And that's, I think, what Eunice has been doing, which is really nice. Go. Yeah.
No, it also, like, I think it also encourages more movement and more of those types of runs from the other players, because when you have a player that's actually willing and able to make those passes, like, you have strikers that are more likely to try to get in behind, try to make one of the, if you have those guys that are making runs constantly and the ball never comes, at some point they're gonna get frustrated and they're just not gonna make half, you know, the runs half the time they normally would or whatever. So I think particularly with the ability of you know, Karaman doesn't really get in behind as much for the most part, but he can kind of do that bolter thing where he kind of drifts out to kind of like the shoulder and kind of pick it up or deeper, and then but Silla can get in behind, like, for sure, and does. And I think that's a really nice combination, the two of them up there, particularly when you have some of the playmakers behind that are doing well.
No, absolutely. There was a scare in the 30th minute. For the most part of the first half, I thought defensively we did really, really well, but there was a moment in the 30th minute where we kind of switched off. And it really allowed Regensburg to kind of like come up and do what they wanted. And Ganaus had a shot just missing wide and kind of like a scare there. I was worried it's gonna be like 1-1, you know, before the half. But luckily, we kept pressing on. Another great play in the 35th minute. Karaman, we talked about a through pass earlier. Silla made this time. Karaman makes it to Silla. Ends up being saved by the goalkeeper. Great save by the keeper for Regensburg. Goes out to a corner kick. I thought Silla was offsides on the play. I watched replay many times, and I'm like, he looks offsides. But I'm like, hey, I'll take what we can get. I'm not gonna go played. You wish you put that away, but he got a corner kick out of that. So I mean, great pass, great vision by Karaman, and it's more of the front four linking up that we were talking about. Just before halftime, Gruger had a great, you know. It's good to see these youngsters like Gruger and Bullet, and I'm going back to these two because, well, they're the two main youngsters we have at the moment, but they have so much confidence that they're willing to take shots from distance. And in the 39th minute, Gruger sees the opportunity from outside the box, like, hey, I'm going to take my shot. We've seen Bullet do the same thing as well, and when Bullet's done it, it's kind of led to, you know, either a deflection and goes into a goal or whatever. And Gruger's taking his chances. I'm never going to fault, and I think you're the same way. I'm never going to fault a young guy who's going to take an opportunity that he sees. It's like when you have him and you don't shoot it, that's when we get frustrated. But I love seeing Gruger just taking the chance at it. It goes in, it goes in. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So love seeing that.
You know me. I get frustrated with the old, you know, Kevin Prince Boateng of like every time I'm within 35 yards, I'm just going to pull up and take a shot over the bar and we lose possession.
Oh my gosh!
And so it's just like every possession ends in just like a, you know, like an off target like rip, because he's going for wonder goal. Yeah, that bothers me. But yeah, like you said, likewise, there's times where it's like, you know what? If you have a window, hit something hard, hit it low. Get something on target. People are crashing the box. I mean, like we have active players at the moment. Like, you know, sometimes you just got to you can create goals that way just through broken situations. So yeah. Like having the youngsters, you know, taking those opportunities, having the confidence to go for some of those plays. And it's really nice to see Bullet and Gruger. And not even at this point, it's only been a few games that most of these guys have played, but for the most part, when I'm watching these games now, I'm not really paying attention to them as young players for the most part, because they've integrated that well, I feel like. Yeah. And that's a good thing too. And Schalke, I feel like, has always been at its best when there's not like 5 of those guys in the lineup at a time. That's an over-reliance, right? You know what I mean? When you have like 5 youth products, but when you have 1 or 2 of those guys that are integrated and playing a good role, that's where Schalke kind of wants to be most of the part. So I think that's good
I
to
agree.
see, and that's positive.
All the other notes I'm going to say about the first half, I thought Eunice possibly got fouled there in the box. Could have been a penalty. I don't know. It didn't go to VAR. Maybe it did. It didn't count it, but I thought it could have been a penalty there. And then I think defensively, going back to the back four, and you can include Merkin in there as well, back five. They were under pressure a couple times trying to play it out, and I thought they played really well. You know, we talked about how the front four linking up very well, the chemistry there. The back four surprisingly looked like a lot of chemistry. A couple of times they played it out with a lot of pressure and got out of there. I'm like, how the hell did you do that? Like, I didn't expect that from Kaminsky and Merkin. Like, those guys have been shaky this season. I'm sure you got Seguin back there as well, but yeah, I thought we were competent back there, it seemed.
You know how I feel about my boy Kaminsky in possession, Richard. You know how I feel about it. Let's take a look at that, shall we? Kaminsky, 27 of 27 from short passes.
Wow.
57 of 57 from medium passes, and long range passes, which are passes of 30 yards or more, 7 of 11.
Wow.
Not bad either. One in particular that he floated over the top to Karaman, who kind of misplayed it over. Karaman immediately turns around, though, and is doing that, because you don't get that from some of the other center backs sometimes. Those little balls over the top, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'll get off that. But, Schallenberg had a very good pass percentage as well. Once again, not a ton of pressure, so a lot of it was patient, kind of back and forth, and so this is why the percentage numbers are up there. But like you said, there were a couple moments where there was some good escape from pressure that was kind of like, hey, that wasn't too bad, right?
Do you find it odd? Yeah, do you find it odd that we had two ball-playing defenders, essentially? Schallenberg's certainly a ball-playing defender. He's not no hard-nosed Kalash kind of guy. And Kaminsky certainly is a ball-playing defender. But it worked so well. It worked well with those two guys. Usually you have two ball-playing defenders or two stay-at-home defenders. It doesn't work that well for us. It seemed they were able to get themselves out of jams. I think the fact that they were so good they're good on the ball, they're confident on the ball, helped them get out of situations, helped them find balls over the top, like you said, and spread the ball around. Hence why they had high passing percentages. To me, I'm pleasantly surprised to see both Schallenberg and Kaminsky do so well, considering they're a very similar skill set, I think, defensively.
Yeah, I was pleased with it too. Yeah, I mean, exactly what you would have wanted in possession. Didn't really give up many significant chances. I disagree with that for the most part. I'm concerned with Kaminsky when he doesn't have the ball.
Fair enough.
When he has somebody running at him and he doesn't have the ball, that's what I'm concerned about Kaminsky. I think Kaminsky is. I mean, I'll have to look back at some of his stats. Maybe his pass percentage isn't what I think it is typically, but like there are moments every game that he plays, at least one every game that he plays, where he will make a pass that like breaks three lines of defenders, and it's the kind of pass where no one else makes that. And like, I'm not saying that's resulted in like assists or whatnot, this year as much as like, maybe the first season we had him, but like he's contributed set piece goals over he's contributed assists. Like, I mean, he's made an impact at times in possession when he's been on the pitch.
Well, you said set pieces. There was a play in the game, I think late in the game, where he lined up for a free kick, and I'm like, he's either going to score a worldie like he did before, or he's going to hit the wall. He hit the wall. Like, okay, I feel vindicated a little bit there, but yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you with that. Second half, a lot of the same that we saw in the first half, honestly. Again, the youngsters getting involved in the attack. Finally, we did get a goal again. Toby Moore involved once again. Silla, good pressure, really. It was good pressure off a corner kick where the goalkeeper kind of played it out bad. I don't know who jumped with the ball. I don't know if it was Karaman or some of the big guys got in there with him, and the goalkeeper just punched it away. Silla made a great play, overhead kick to keep the ball live back to the box. Ball eventually finds its way to Toby Moore, who takes a shot from distance, or was it a pass? I don't know. And Silla, the ever-present poacher that he is, stopped the ball, got it into the goal. I think Carmen was behind him too, just in case. They went to VAR to check it. Close. I thought, again, he was offside, but hey, I'm not going to argue with VAR. And the goal stood. Again, Toby Moore, second assist, but added to the lead. Thoughts on that second goal there?
So I think before it gets out to it more, it actually comes as a result of a Gruger shot attempt, because I think it fell to him kind of like centrally around the top of the box, and he was able to take a rip. Didn't finish it, obviously, but I'm going to say it's a shot. I do not believe for a second that that's a pass. I mean, if Toby Moore wants to say it's an assist and an intended pass, he can go for it. It didn't look like that to me. I think he was taking it, but it doesn't matter. I mean, like, hey, like, and that's a smart place to shoot it as well, is like try to get it to the left side. If you have runners going back post, that's likely where a deflection is going to go, or it's going to be squared out there. And you had multiple players at the back. It wasn't just, was it Karaman maybe again? I forget, but it was two different people that were there that reacted to it quicker than Regensburg, made the back post run, and were there to finish it off. So, I mean, you get rewarded when you put in that effort and make those runs sometimes, and easy goal for Silla to finish off.
Yeah. I was looking for that third goal. As you saw in the video, I predicted 3-0. I felt oddly comfortable that we were going to win the game. We had some opportunities. I thought Karaman was fouled in the 78th minute. They went to VAR. He ultimately said it was no penalty there. Again, I watched the replay, and it's 50-50, so I'm fine. They didn't call. We won the game, right? But it looked like initially the first shoulder hit Karaman's foot, and then he fell over, and then the back foot trying to drag to make it accentuate that point, I guess. But whatever. Not of how. Didn't get my third goal there. There was a play just before the end of the game where nice tic-tac-toe passing between, I think it was like Moore, Seguin, maybe Karaman, and ultimately fell to Yunus in the box, wide open. Here we go. He skies the ball. Like, Yunus, come on, man. You played so well. All you needed was a goal, and it didn't hurt his game. But that would have been nice to get a goal there because that was a beautiful tic-tac-toe passing play there. Thoughts on the game?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to get too excited about it because I know, Wunderman's time overall has not been super exciting or super promising. This is a game against, bottom table opposition that we would expect to not only win, but, win fairly comfortably with good handle on the game, good control, possession, those sorts of things. So, look, I mean, ultimately we did exactly what we would have been expected to do, which is a positive, but it's also not a positive that I'm going to be excited about is in terms of it necessarily pointing, I think, towards like a trend for the team. As a couple people in the chat have mentioned already, I think, our next game is going to be a much better test to see if there has been any, improvement or sort of continuity kind of coming together under the new manager. I'm not optimistic about that. I'm not, necessarily feeling that we're going to be much better than we have been the previous games after seeing this one. But, a win's a win. It pulls us out of the relegation zone for the time being. And, all positives from this weekend. So
beautiful. XGs, yeah, that's one of your stats you like to look at. Regensburg 0.29. That's probably the two chances they had that I mentioned. Our XG was 3.44. That was so we missed a lot of chances. I thought obviously the Yunus one that we talked about, but there's some other ones that they missed. So they had some good opportunities there. 11 shots to their 7. We had 7 off target. We had 11 off target. They had 7 off target. 4 on target for us. Obviously 2 goals, 1 on target for them. Overall the better team, no doubt about it. Possession 62-38, and that might have been just flattering for them because by the time it was 2-0, I think we were just trying to make sure we didn't do anything silly defensively. So all said and done, we were
first half was like 75% possession.
It was big. It was big. We were the bottom 2 teams in the league, but because how all the results panned out this weekend, including Braunschweig beating Hamburg, so hopefully Hamburg still plays like shit when they play against us. But we jump up to 14th place, so we jumped up 3 places. We're actually 10 points within first place now, Jack. 9 points from third. I don't know what the hell to think about that, but that's a Zweite Liga for you. But little bit of breathing room, and I mean very little bit. But it's good to get on a positive note before the international break because backing into the international break, especially not having any wins for Van Wanderen would have been a nightmare. We talked about 4 points being a minimum that they would need in the stretch. They got it. It wasn't pretty at all times, but they got it now. So there's a little bit of breathing room, but much to do still. Got 20-something games left to go, so long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing for me was it was a complete team win. I don't think there was a single player that you could point to in the starting lineup that said like that player in particular was noticeably worse than anybody else on the pitch. So that like against bad opposition, everyone was able to rise to that occasion and at least look competent and whatever. If there were still like 2 or 3 performances despite a win that were like shocking against Regensburg, that would not be a good sign. So that's another positive there too, I guess. But
yeah, good game overall. So I'm gonna give you my 4 takeaways of the game. And then you can give me yours. You agree, disagree. You got somebody else in the end there, and I
have 4.5. Hopefully that's okay.
4.5. So my first takeaway, and I kind of linked it on social media already today. But Max Kruger, I thought was I like to do my ratings of red for bad, white for neutral, green for good, and then gold if you're exceptional, whatever. I thought he was a green. I thought he was a good rating. Played well defensively, played well offensively, took his chances, like I said, looks confident. He looks like a natural pairing for Paul Seguin in the midfield there. Paul Seguin's been more of a libero type midfielder, and he's blossomed when he's had the opportunity when he can go forward and make those passes. Gruger's like the perfect complement to him, I think, and Gruger's hustling like crazy, not afraid of challenging guys for the ball and stuff like that. So really great game for him. My other green goes to Kaminsky Schallenberg. Pleasantly surprised by that combination. I was scared to death, like I said, when Kaminsky was in the lineup, but Schallenberg and Kaminsky get a green rating for me. I thought they communicated well together. They used their passing ability to our advantage, not only trying to play out the back, but making over top passes, as you said. Didn't really look threatened at all in the game. They, again, with that communication with the two wing backs, they kept it clean in front of them. A couple times they slipped, but that's it. Two slip ups, and that was it in the game. And really the shots went wide, so nothing for Hekren to worry about. Speaking of Hekren, he's my third guy I'm going to talk about. Green rating. I think Hekren owned the box. We mentioned before. He made that position his. Not that it wasn't already his. Confidence in him, the way he owned the box in the air, especially made when he's called upon. It wasn't this game. Mostly the Ulm match. He was there, and so he's. I feel very comfortable him going forward, barring any injuries or anything like that. And lastly, Toby Moore is my man of the match, though I kind of, after I said this, there's another guy I might have picked, and you may pick him. But Toby Moore, 2 assists in the game. One of the best performers in this Fight the Liga this week. Is a guy that we always dog that is never, it just doesn't seem to have it all the time, but he's been hustling this year. Getting involved. He had a couple of chances early on, had chances late in the game, setting up players with his left foot. He's been hustling, man. So he gets my gold star, I guess, of the week. Thoughts on my 4 takeaways, and do you have anything different?
No, I think I would agree with all of those. And I mean, yeah, like what I'd say is like Tobias Moore very much in the same line as like Eunice, although one known quantity, one unknown quantity, but both those guys have impressed me this season. I was surprised to see him kind of being in the starting lineup from the beginning, and was initially kind of surprised that he's held on to that for the most part. But I don't think you can say that at this point in the season. I mean, he's played his way into the starting lineup, like not just through whatever he did preseason to get there kind of in the first place, but with mostly a lot of his performances in actual games this year. So, and that's great. I mean, I like, once again, like I even guys that like we criticize sometimes, like we want them to succeed, obviously, on a personal level most of the time, because there's very few people that we think are actually like bad apples or whatever as people. But I mean, like even if they're not our favorite players, if they prove us wrong and they do well for the team, that's great for everybody else involved. So really happy for Tobias Moore, and I would agree with that shout out as well.
The only shout out I would probably do that maybe played even better than Toby Moore, despite his 2 assists, I would say Paul Seguin, kind of what the coach was saying. Seguin as a libero, I thought was excellent. This is the kind of Paul Seguin we saw early in the season, where he's just getting involved in the attack, does what we got to do in the midfield, makes the passes that he needs to, is good on the set pieces. Seguin was a strong performer in this game, which helped Gruger to perform as well as he did as well. So I think Seguin deserves a shout out too, because excellent performance by him. Hopefully he can do this going forward, and I hope He said quite openly how like the only reason he stayed at Schalke is because Gerards was here. Now and hopefully now if he gets more game time like this in this position, he can continue wanting to at least stay here for at least this season for sure. Then we'll see what happens from here. But shout out to Paul Seguin, I think, for that. So
it just sounds like he's a guy that like hasn't ever really been in a position where he's had a lot of responsibility or had people putting a lot of faith in him, and so he got that at Schalke for the first time, and they kind of like put a pep in his step, kind of rejuvenate him a little bit. And I mean, I think he made some comments about like he's not going to be motivated by coach's comments necessarily, but I'm sure it's a positive if the guy that's replaced, the reason that he was staying here is also kind of giving him some positive feedback and feeling similarly about some of his performances. So good stuff from Seguin as well.
My final thoughts on the game before we just go on to the quick news bits. As much as criticism I've given Keith Van Wonderen over the last 5-6 games, however long he's been here, he deserves all the credit in the world for this game. I think he planned his game very well. It's never an easy game. You play two worst teams in the league, a team who is far worse than you, at least offensively. You can botch that so easily, especially with all the pressure that he was facing and the way he lined up the team defensively. Hekren got his second consecutive shutout. Defensively, give up nothing. The offense came to life finally. Yes, it's Regensburg, but we were missing that, and so I think Van Wonderen deserves a lot of credit for making this game happen and getting the success that we did. Yeah, he's going to always do it to the players, and yes, the players have a lot to do with it. But I think Van Wonderen's planning, knowing where Regensburg's strengths are, and just getting rid of it altogether and setting him up for success, he deserves a shout out. I've been harsh on him the last month So I wanted to put that out there, at least with my final thoughts in the game. So that's all I got to say about that. All right, moving on. Some things about the game. So Toby Moore makes a kicker best 11 with his 2 assists. Excellent performance in this one. So good shout out there for Toby Moore, especially a guy who works as hard as he does. Let's see. So according to Sky, Ben Manga, despite the Modesta rumors, is not looking for a striker that doesn't have a club at the moment. He's going to wait till the winter time to find a striker, maybe as 6. And I go back to my earlier comment, Jack, where I don't think we need a striker or a 6. I think it's the defense that needs help. Maybe we're good with that, but I still think the defense is the key at the moment. Merkins played a lot better, and we have a right back essentially, and Bullet or Gantenbeim, but center backs where I think we're struggling. Do you disagree?
I mean, the only thing from a depth standpoint, yes. If Silla or Karaman goes down with a season-ending injury, I think we're in serious trouble. So from that perspective, if we could get somebody else that would be able to rotate into some extent, that would be positive. But no, in general, yeah, I agree with that take for sure. I think it's the back that needs help. That's been one of the issues, one of the places of most rotation all season long. So if we could shore that up and get some reinforcements there, that'd be positive.
Our friend Asynchronous says, I think there was no pressure on Seguin, and they had 3 chances. The 3-4s won't be a structural thing that's going to be done against any team that doesn't scroll like Regensburg, only 5 goals. Yeah. Fair comment. According to Waz, and that's like Andreas Ernst and his outfit, there was a meeting between Schalke's team councils, a bunch of the players, the senior players on the team, and Van Vonderen. Van Vonderen's come out and said, and he said it even on the video that's on Schalke's website, on Schalke's YouTube, and saying, like, we're a German club. We're going to speak German here. And so some of the players, not every player speaks German fully. You know, you got the Hamach, you got Sillas, you got, who else you got there? I'm sure there's a few others that don't speak full German. Eunice, right? Oh, no, Eunice speaks German. But nonetheless, you know, the players are like, hey, look, we don't think all the players are grasping your concept 100%. Even maybe some of the German players, because Van Vonderen's first language is not German. It's Dutch, obviously. And probably I think it's English after that. But, you know, Van Vonderen says, look, this is going to be our identity. We're not, just because not everybody speaks German, we have assistant coaches who speak English, French, and other languages. We're going to communicate to them, but we are in the locker room going to speak German. That's what we are. We are a German team. And I like that take. I'm a guy who likes to dabble in different languages, and I understand that sentiment. It's like you see these big teams, teams like the Real Madrid, the Man Cities of the world, maybe not Man City, but Paris Saint-Germain, you know, the clubs that are foreign, they'll speak the native language, and what you can quickly lose an identity of a team, especially a team like Schalke, if you start resorting from different languages. It's a tight thing here and there, but I always like it personally. You know, if whatever country you're in, you speak that language in the locker room. There doesn't mean that you don't speak also English and other languages, but the main language should be the one of your home country. But that's me. I don't know. You got any comments on that?
No, I mean I can agree with that from sort of like a philosophical standpoint. Like if you're in Germany, like yeah, you should probably be learning the German language. If you're in Italy, you should be learning Italian, and that's probably what's going to be predominantly spoken. The one thing I'd say, though, is just kind of like, universally making that decision that we're exclusively going to speak in that language when that might cause issues for some of the members of your squad is kind of a questionable take to make as a new manager who's trying to get their tactical ideas across to a squad. That doesn't necessarily seem like the time to introduce a rule that's going to potentially cause a language barrier and some comprehension issues. So from that perspective, I think, maybe it needs to be examined a little bit, but in general, I sympathize with that. And I think I agree with you.
That's why I love our listeners. As soon as I say Eunice doesn't speak German, they jumped on it quickly in the chat. I know he speaks German. I know he's German national. It slipped my mind. It's probably
Lebanese German, isn't he? He's dual.
Yeah, something like that. But they jumped on it all over. So thank you guys for correcting there. Let's see what other news we got here. Okay, it's a rumor at this point, but I think it's from Sky that came out. But Oliver Runert, so used to be at Schalke, is rumored to be in the role for sporting director. Again, it's a rumor. It was kind of a falling out between Runert and Schalke when he left, and he's been very critical of the supervisory board. Maybe the previous stint, not necessarily this stint with Tillman and Christina Ruhlhammers, but again, it's a rumor. I don't know how much I want to take into it. It's a name we're familiar with because he was at Schalke for a long time under who was he under there? I forget who. But anyway, that's not the point. He was a 2000 2007 to 2012, something like that, or 2008, 2017. But it's no comment really. I want someone in the position who's going to be competent, can do the job. I don't want someone who's going to be like. It's fine to have a former Schalke player if he knows what he's doing, and Runer would be one that fills that void. But if you put like a Benedikt Hovidis, who I love, Benedikt Hovidis, what does he know about sporting director role, right? And so I want someone who knows what that position's about and how to help the scouting and all that stuff. So if this is a name that does come to fruition, great. But this is one of the better names I've heard in terms of being linked with Schalke. As much as you can take it with a grain of salt, but thoughts on Runer possibly being a name linked with Schalke in the sporting director role.
Nothing to add there, really. I think I agree with the way you framed that. It's more about competency than like allegiance or history. But if you're gonna go with somebody like that, I think that's probably one of the better names we've heard. But
yeah. The Confederate Cup, the most coveted trophy of all. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with and Synchronizer. He says Van Ronder's and mixing up his words. It'd be like me speaking. When I speak different languages, I always mix up languages together. So I sympathize with Van Ronderen with his mixing up of the languages. Lastly, let's real quick talk about the Schalke Frauen. We had we did highlights of the first ever Revier Derby for the women's game a couple weeks ago. That ended in 0-0. We mentioned in the chat back then how Dortmund had a slim lead to Schalke in terms of promotion. That lead continues to at this point. The women, the last two games, they won the last two games. Schalke won against Concordia Flasheim 1-0 last week, and then this week they won 2-1 against. Come on, why is my thing moving? Come on, there it is. This week we won against Arminia Ibbenburen 2-1, and so we're still 1 point behind Dortmund in terms of promotion. I don't know how many games are left in the table, but we are comfortably in second place. Only one team gets promoted out of the Westfalen Liga Frauen. We'll see how this ends up. It'd be nice to see the women go up there because it's still I think the fourth division of women's football, which is still a long way to go before you get to the Bundesliga. But it's too bad, really, that only one team gets to get promoted out of here, because I think certainly both us and our cousins are deserving of a promotion, I think. And I think both teams have played well this year. Certainly us. Jack. But I think, and you weren't here for this one, but I think majority of our followers with the sentiment, and I share with this one, that Schalke should show more Frauen games, because the game in the Revier Derby, they look good. They had the majority of the chances in that game. I would love to see the women's game more on Schalke, promoting it. What are your thoughts on this? I know you're an advocate. That's why I'm asking you.
I mean, I'm wearing a Chicago Red Stars hat right now, so I'm all about it, man. Especially when the quality of the football on the men's side isn't as nice to watch. Yeah, I support that 100%.
Yeah, I remember that River Derby well, because they played that game better than the men played the previous game under Van Wonderen. So, but they're currently second, 1 point behind. So hopefully they can find a way to. Hopefully Dortmund slips up and we continue to get the wins and roll on, because it's a really good team there. Really a really good team for them. So we'd love to see more of them on YouTube or wherever we can get games. So maybe ESPN Plus will pick it up. Who knows? All right, that's all I got for tonight. It's been a long podcast. It's a Victory Monday. We hadn't had one in a while. We had to have drinks to celebrate. Didn't have one since our last Victory Monday, which was a while ago, Jack. So any final thoughts before we head out of here?
No. Just the Bears are in full crisis mode. So
yeah. I'm not going to comment on that. We had a tough loss this weekend as well. So William says, fully agree. Put more on YouTube. Don't even need the commentary. Yeah, no, don't need the commentary. Just go to watch the game. Good calcio. Everyone in the chat saying agreeing the same thing. So, all right, let's get on out of here. It's been a good podcast. Nice to celebrate a win. Get into the international break. Yeah, that's it. Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
At JMMangan, JMMANGAN on Twitter.
Beautiful. You can follow me at R_KHARMAN. More importantly, follow us at Schalke America all across social media. Listen to our podcast anywhere you stream music or audio. And definitely, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you follow us on YouTube, subscribe, leave comments, and then follow us on Twitch as well. We're trying to grow that following as well. So I've got a few followers in there from that as well. So that's it for 10 days at least. Then we got Hamburg on the horizon. So Should be a tasty encounter. We'll see what we're made of. That'll be a truer test in Regensburg. But here's hoping we keep marching up the table, Jack. So for Jack and myself, he's out in Chicagoland. I'm in here in DC, and wherever you are watching in Schalke American Nation, we'll catch you guys soon. Enjoy the break. Glück auf.